Thank you, Scott. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee of January 24th, 2023 at 6:02 p.m. First item of business is approval of minutes, draft minutes of the January 10th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Do I have an approval?
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Public appearances, non-agenda items. We have no one registered in chambers online. All right. Thank you, Scott. No registration. We will move on to item 4, the Finance Director report. We have Misty Dodge in chambers. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll start with the most exciting news. The accountant position that y'all approved in the 2023 budget has been posted. So hopeful that we can get moving and get that position filled and have some much needed additional help in the department. So huge thank you to the council for supporting that additional staff. Other than that, tax collection is going really well. We're in a bit of a lull right now. We were really busy right at the end of the year. Little bit of a lull now that I just jinxed, and then we'll get really busy next week as it gets closer to the deadline. We did issue today 134 refunds. Those were the refunds just through what was deposited as of the end of the year. So we have about 60 more to do, plus more that are coming in. So we'll do them every week going forward. We do them in batches based on when they were deposited at the bank so that we can give enough time to make sure that the check clears and doesn't come NSF before we issue the refund. So those should be hitting mailboxes soon if people are expecting one. Other end-of-year stuff, so W-2s have been released to staff and all of you as well. So hopefully you got those. And then another just kind of interesting thing, so we implemented what's called positive pay on our bank account a couple of years ago now, which is where you upload a list of all of your checks and how much they are, so that the bank can match that. So when a check comes to get cleared, they match to what we cut the check for and make sure it's right. And then we also implemented what's called ACH blocks and filters. So we said who's allowed to take money out of our account and put money into our account. So really pretty standard bank fraud prevention measures. Haven't had any problems other than, mistakes that have happened up until now. But this week we had somebody that tried to take money out of the city's account. It was caught. Staff rejected the payment. So there was about almost $5,000 that we didn't lose because we had those preventions in place. So kind of like those success stories. Sometimes you wonder as you're doing things for years, like, is this really making a difference or is it not? But so while I'm disappointed that we had that happen, it's kind of nice to know that there were methods in place to prevent it. So I thought that was interesting. That's it.
Very good. Good. You had good information to pass along. Moving on to review of bills. It's item 5A. Detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above for the period of January 1st through the 15th, 2023, totaling $597,117.40. Discussion? Questions for Misty? I do have a couple questions. Opening up the report, the large dollar amount of, there's several dollar amounts on the first item, and but the one that stuck out was the $100,722.14. Under description, it says to pay. I'm assuming that's a pay goal?
No. So those were Town of Madison tax bills that were paid on the same check as a City of Fitchburg tax bill. And so because of, remember the nuances with this year and 1/1 and all of that stuff, we had two separate systems going for Madison versus Fitchburg. And so when somebody issued us a check that included both, we deposited it at Fitchburg, we issued a refund, cut it to ourselves, and then deposited it in the Madison system. So an extra set of steps that we hope to never have to do again. But that's why. And so that big one in particular is that's the parcel number that we had to pay that back.
Okay, for. So all of the items under description, then they're all parcel numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And then under the, let's move on down to Deere and Company. I'm assuming it's John Deere, just as the description states, but it's $200,633,016. And looking at the next item, which was the trade-in of a 2009 case, I'm assuming the case was traded in for, and this new John Deere was the replacement.
Correct. So this would have gone through Finance Committee and Council for the original purchase.
Right.
The original new tractor, which would have been a John Deere, was the $201,000, and then we traded in the old one for $65,000. That was more than we thought we would get at surplus.
Okay. And do we do any type of replacement fund for, this is a big ticket item, or is it just that it's so infrequent that, or maybe it's not so infrequent, I'm not certain.
Yeah, so this is one of the new replacement funds. So starting in 2023, all of the public works equipment and parks equipment is set up as a replacement fund going forward.
All.
But for 2022 and before, it was not. So it's
Okay.
one of the new ones.
Okay, very good, thank you. That's it for my questions. Is there any others? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item 5B, detailed review of all checks issued. Checks 124404 through 124461 for the period of January 1st through the 15th, 2023, totaling $675,955.41. Questions from the committee? Yes, Alder Gerhart.
Thanks. I saw that we purchased a couple of speed feedback signs. I was curious, are those the big ones, the mobile ones, or are these the ones that go on the, like permanent ones that go on the road? I'm curious if we have new ones going up, because I know there's been a lot of questions about putting them up on Cyan Road. And
So I don't believe that's what these ones are, but I did sign off on a pre-approval in the last week or so for new ones up at Cyan Road.
Okay.
They were originally going to go in as part of the construction project. We're buying them early. We'll put them in temporarily, and then we'll install them permanently once the project is complete. So I don't think that's what these are, but those are coming.
okay, great, thanks.
Okay. No additional questions. Moving on to action items. Item 6A. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-224-22, approval of 2023 Dane County contract for senior center services?
I move approval.
We have an approval. Misty, will you speak to this item?
I will. So this is a contract that we have with this Dane County for nutrition and case management. So it's a 9% increase from what we had received from Dane County last year. This is an annual contract that we do, which is what helps support those services in the senior center.
Okay. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, 6B. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-06-23, authorizing amendments to $75 million City of Fitchburg, Wisconsin Midwest Disaster Area Revenue Bonds, Series 2011, and it's the Promega Corporation project issued on November 3rd, 2011.
I move approval.
We have an approval, and Misty, I know you'll speak to this item.
Yes. So the $75 million of bonds are technically in the city of Fitchburg's name, but are really on behalf of Promega. They were originally issued back in 2011 as a part of that Midwest Disaster Area Revenue Bond Program. So ultimately, the city lent its name to Promega back at the time so that they could get tax advantages on that borrowing. They've now amended it. This will be the third time. This one is because the interest rate is connected to LIBOR, which doesn't exist anymore. So they're just tying their interest rate to a different factor instead. So all of the costs associated with what we're doing now was paid for by Promega. All of the repayment of the bonds, principal and interest is paid for by Promega. The city is simply doing this paperwork process as a way to be helpful and allow them to get that advantage.
Sounds just like a housekeeping measure for the moment.
Very much so.
Okay. Questions, discussion from the committee? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to action item 6C. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-07-23, approving the Juneteenth MOU for police and fire?
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval by Alder Wheeler. Who will be speaking to this?
I will be.
You will. Okay, go ahead, Misty.
Yep. So Juneteenth was added as an official city holiday by personnel for the non-represented staff last week or the week before, sometime relatively recently. This was included in the 2023 budget that council approved. Since this would also impact the two unions, fire and police, that requires a separate MOU, which basically changes the contract that we have. So this would provide Juneteenth as an official city holiday for both contracts as well, consistent with what we're doing for non-union employees.
Okay, very good. Questions from the committee? Discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item 6E, do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-09-23, approving the OT MOU for the police union?
I move approval.
All right, Alder Gerhart has motion to approve, and,
Are we doing bilingual? Which one
did I skip one?
Yeah.
Did I skip one?
B.
I apologize. Would you like me to, for protocol?
Yeah, if we can just reverse that. And so I guess which one are you?
Yeah, I'll rescind my motion so we can move back.
Okay,
agenda.
thank you for rescinding, thank you. Then do I have a motion to approve item 6D, Resolution R-08-23, approving the bilingual incentive for MOU for police and fire?
I move approval.
Okay, we have a motion for approval made by Alder Gerhart. Now, Misty.
Yes, thank you. Similar to the last one, this is another benefit that was included in the 2023 budget and has been approved by Personnel Committee for non-represented staff, but we need to do an MOU in order to provide the same bilingual incentive to our union staff. This is a 50-cent increase on their pay for all hours paid. That would be eligible for employees that pass testing requirements for 3 specific languages besides English. So it's Spanish, American Sign Language, and Hmong. If they pass the test to a sufficient level of proficiency, they will get an extra 50 cents per hour.
Very good. Discussion from the committee? No? Hearing none, I'll place the motion to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Now, moving on to item 6E. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-09-23, approving the OT MOU for the police union?
I move approval.
An approval made by Alder Wheeler. Misty, you'll speak to this item as well?
Yep. So this one's a little bit different. So in the current contract, before this MOU was agreed upon, it says that overtime is paid based on hours worked. So if you have vacation or you take comp time or sick time or holiday, that doesn't count towards hours that would need to be put in before overtime at time and a half is earned. It was discovered by payroll staff in about summer of this last year that we weren't following contract, that we were actually paying it for all hours paid rather than all hours worked. So changed the practice to be in compliance with the contract, had further discussions. Both the city and the union agreed to propose changing it to the way we had been doing it, where it's based on all hours paid instead. This is unique to the police department because they are very structured with shifts, and there's much less flexibility to say if you have a doctor's appointment, you just change your schedule like what I can do. The police department doesn't have that same flexibility. So this would be unique to the union, and then personnel did approve the same clause for dispatch and sergeants because they're on that same shift structure.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, which is 6F. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-10-23, approving the updated language in the lateral transfer program in an MOU with the police union?
I move approval.
Alder Gerhart made a motion for approval, and Misty, you're speaking to this item as well.
I am. So the existing contract does include a lateral transfer program currently. This MOU would really sweeten those, the ability to increase pay and vacation and sick leave to lateral transfers. So for example, right now under the contract, if you're a lateral transfer and you have 10 years, you could only come in up to the after 3-year step. Under this MOU, it'd be year for year service. You could come in at the after 10-year step. Same with vacation. You could come in at the parallel amount, but then you have to work at Fitchburg before you would move past that. And then sick leave, right now, we can offer up to 40 hours, and the MOU would change that up to 100 hours, but it would be dependent on those years of service with some flexibility to HR and the chief.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Yes, Alder Gerhard.
I just wanted to make one note of something we discussed in personnel is that this is also going to be retroactive for any lateral transfers that entered the department in the recent past, every single one of them, just so that this new benefit does not go to new people and doesn't retroactively apply to old people. So everyone in the department will have the same treatment going forward with this change.
Yes, when you say retroactive, not prior to, I'm sorry, Misty, you and I discussed this.
So
What point am I missing here?
So the pay isn't retroactive, the policy will be applied retroactive. So everybody will have their pay based on if these were the lateral transfer rules that were in place back when they were a lateral transfer.
I see. Okay,
So no back pay, but their rate going forward could be increased.
very good. Yes, Alder Wheeler.
Am I correct in just saying that this is in line with other departments are doing in order to attract qualified officers?
That I actually don't know. Can you help me, Chief?
There's a number of different things that are being done throughout law enforcement, and I wouldn't just say the state of Wisconsin, throughout the nation to bring upon quality lateral employees. The one thing I want to stay away from is create bonuses. It's just because we're competing against each other. However, I came into this department a year ago, and we had 3 lateral transfers, each and 2 of them with over 10 years experience, and one with just coming on 10 years experience, but they were getting paid under the 3-year marker. And I'm looking at retention. Currently, there's other departments that are paying more in annual salary, like Dane County Sheriffs. There's some pretty huge signing bonuses, like Wauwatosa, $7,500 that you get within the first year and a half of service there. So there's a number of things going on. I want to be able to retain the ones we have, and if we do get some laterals, to let them know that they're going to get paid according to their years of service. You have to be certified through the state of Wisconsin anyway. So whether you work in the east side of the state or the west or north side of the state, we all have to maintain state standards. So that is nothing to be concerned about. You just have to go through a training period to understand the processes that we have in place here at Fitchburg. So bringing in a lateral transfer during a time that retention is difficult, this will assist us.
Thank you for the explanation. I thought that the public would be good for the public to have that information, so thanks. It was excellent.
Great, thank you.
The other thing I'd like to add, if I may, is we did include this lateral transfer change in the budget for 2023. So any of the known lateral transfers at that point are already accounted for in here. Any new lateral transfers, in theory, the vacancy savings we'll be able to absorb this year, and then we'll be able to budget the new known facts for the following years.
Very good. Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the next item, 6G. Do I have a motion for approval of Resolution R-13-23, Police Department Vehicle Purchases, and this is a direct referral.
I move approval.
All right, Alder Wheeler, motion for approval, and who will speak to this? Chief, go ahead.
I will. The police department was approved in the 2023 CIP budget to purchase 5 replacement squad cars for the Fitchburg Police Department. Those were 4 police interceptors. There's been an issue with the agency or the organization that has the state bid. They have been very difficult to supply the vehicles, and that's just a supply and demand issue that started with COVID. And I believe there's chips shortages that occurred about 2 years back. We're still struggling. If you recall, I was here less than 6 months ago with last year's orders that couldn't be maintained, where we had to go to a direct referral with Kaiser. This is basically the same piece. They cut off their order for 2023 and 2024 early last year, I think sometime in September. So if we want anything through the state contract, we need to, we're done for 2023. We'd have to look for sometime in 2024. Kaiser happened to have some vehicles, So we're able to go through a direct referral through them that we can't get through the state bid. And this is not just occurring with us. I contacted several departments in Dane County. They're struggling with purchases as well. So it's just a supply and demand shortage of vehicles, and it's not just with the purchase of vehicles for government use. Personal vehicles are still a struggle to purchase as well.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Discussion from the committee. Alder Gerhart.
Are these going to be immediate deliveries, or is this still a delay?
From what I understand, they over-purchased, so they have 5 vehicles sitting in the lot. If this gets approved, we can get moving on it quickly.
All right. Further discussion? Hearing none, place the motion before us to a vote. Excuse me. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to our last item, 6H. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-17-23, authorizing the submittal of an application to the Community Development Investment Vibrant Spaces Grant Program, and this is a direct referral as well.
I move approval.
All right. Alder Gerhart is motion for approval. And Misty, are you speaking to this item?
I am. So this one is a direct referral due to the timing. So the grant application that we're talking about is due at the end of the month. And one of the requirements of that grant application is a resolution through council. So it's not normal that these grant application resolutions come through, but it is a requirement of this particular grant. So that's why you're seeing this one. So this would be a $50,000 grant request from Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, or WEDC, and it would go towards Hub Phase 1, most likely towards landscaping or furnishings or some other things that have not been accounted for yet.
Okay, very good. Discussion from the committee. Yes, Alder Wheeler.
So is this a new grant program, and will it be something that we can apply next year? You know, is it going to be continuing?
So it is a new grant program, as far as I understand. So like a brand new, they haven't issued this particular grant before. WEDC does do other types of grants, but I think this one is new. And it is for construction. So this is not going towards operating costs. This would be for that upfront one-time costs associated with the build of the project.
Okay, thanks.
All right, further discussion. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. That concludes our action items. Moving on to item 7, announcements. Our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for February 1st, 2023.
Randy, do you mind if I interrupt one more time?
Yeah, no, go
I
ahead.
should have included this in my report. So yes, you guys have a weird meeting next week, this February 1st one. This is the special Finance Committee meeting for the mayor's proposed ARPA TID closure investment plan, which was released on the website last week. So if people have interest in that process, the next step will be this special Finance Committee meeting next week.
Very good, thank you. Thank you for the interruption. No, not a problem. Again, that's February 1st, 2023, which is next week. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move adjournment.
All right, Alder Wheeler made the motion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:25 p.m.